Hello, lovely people. How's it going? First things first, I just taught a class of 7th graders and I'm not a teacher, it's unrelated. One of them said when I came in with this hair, she was like, your hair is so 1950s. And I was like, what about this is 1950s? So comment down below, is it giving 1950s? That's not what you're here for. Hi, I'm Melissa, I write books. So, okay, it's the new year, and I feel like around this time of year is when a lot of people are maybe starting to maybe think about wanting to write. People are looking at writing tips online and trying to see advice. And so I've just been seeing a lot more of those kind of videos in my feed recently. And I saw one piece of advice that really, I just have a lot of feelings about. So that's what we're talking about today. It's this piece of advice that is, you have to write every day. I just have a lot of feelings about this because I get where it's coming from and I like partially agree, but I also like fully disagree so severely. It's not even funny how much I disagree. Like I think about it and I get enraged about it. So first of all, who do you think you are? What? Maybe if you're Colleen Hoover, you can write every day of your life, but most of us are working jobs, are going to school, are taking care of children, are living our best lives. It makes writing seem so much more inaccessible than it already is. Like, I think writing is one of those things where it's already hard enough to write a book, to write characters, to come up with all these things. But to add this arbitrary rule that if you don't write every day, you're not a real writer, like what? I've seen people kind of walking away from this piece of advice or like discrediting it, which if you write once a month, if you've written once in your life, I don't know, you're always a writer. Like, I don't know why we need to put so many boxes on things. There's no correct number of hours to write during a day that makes you a writer. Like, that's just silly. Because for so many people, that's not possible. Like, I think about, there's a lot of people I see who work like I work 40 hours a week, like a 9 to 5. And so I usually do write most days because it's just the schedule that I've worked out. But there's some people who work like maybe on different shifts where they're working like 3 15-hour days. It's like you're really expecting someone to write after that or else they're not a writer. Like what? But I have genuinely heard people give this advice in like a real context where they're like, yes, you should be at least writing 1 sentence every day or else you like lose all of your momentum and you'll spiral down into nothing. And I'm like, no, just no. I have had a lot of success writing wise personally in the last year. Not in a very translatable way, like you wouldn't know it by looking at my life, but made a lot of progress in my writing projects, and I've definitely not written every day. Here's another reason why this writing piece of advice makes me mad. I've heard this advice given not just in the context of writing, but in the context of like working and being an entrepreneur and like hustling. That you need to be working on your business every day, or you need to be working out every day, or you need to be reading like 75 hard, like do this every day for 75 days. And that advice is so tailored to men. It's like if you get a period, your cycle will change like throughout the month. Some parts of the month you'll have so much energy that you want to do things all the time. Other parts of the month your body wants to sleep, right? In certain parts of the country where it's cold, winter is for hibernation. That doesn't mean you can't do anything when you're on your period. It doesn't mean you can't do anything when you're in a cold, wintry, hibernated state. But your body wants to do less, and it's fine to lean into that, because what I found is when I am on my period, I can still get things done, obviously. Like I still go to work when I have a period, like obviously. But if I let myself sleep in a little bit and go to bed a little bit earlier and really like listen to what my body is feeling, then when I'm into the next stage of my cycle, I have so much energy. And so then I can get twice as much done, and then it all balances out. So like this idea that you have to do it all every day, because what men's cycles do is they reset every day. So female cycles reset every month, but male cycles reset every day. So that's why a lot of this hustle grind culture, blah, 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 hit the gym every day or you're not gonna get the gains is such like a male attitude towards it, because you're assuming that everybody has the same energy every day, which is so incorrect. Especially when I used to listen to this podcast called the Beautiful Writers Podcast, and I recommend it, but I also don't. It's with very famous writers. And so these people who are talking about, I do this every day, are often people who are in a position where they have 40 hours, have all the time in the world to write because they're making an income off of writing, which is just so not the reality of the world. I think it's so healthy to take a break from your manuscript and come back to it with fresher eyes. So you do not need to write every day. But here's where I'm gonna flip a switch a little bit. Ready? 180. I do think that the advice has validity to it, and here's why. I think that the phrasing of the advice is wrong. We just need to change the language, because I think instead of, there's one part for sure that we need to get rid of, that in order to be a writer, you need to write every day. Let's get rid of that. You're a writer if you've written anything. So let's remove that from the equation. And also the everyday part of it. I think a better way of putting it is to make the progress that you want to see, or to make really consistent progress and achieve goals consistently, then you should have a good baseline of writing, a good routine of writing. I get it, because when you get into a pattern of I write Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m. and my body knows that I do it, and I get up and I do it and I feel normal and I move on with my day and it's not a struggle. The only way that that happens is by getting into a pattern. And I think if you have a pattern or a time that you write most days or on certain days, that's where I've seen the most significant progress in my life, is when I have a time that I'm writing, and it's not every day, but like most days. Recently for me, it has been at 6, from 6 to 7:30 is my writing time. And so having that time like blocked off every day has been really helpful for making a lot of significant progress. And so I see at the heart of this advice of writing every day is making it easy and comfortable and exciting and accessible to write every day, or to write consistently. But I also don't really binge write. And I know that there's people who do, people who maybe will write a little bit and then they'll have a weekend where they write 20,000 words. And so to tell those people, oh, you haven't written in 5 days, you're not a writer, like, no. What I'll say to me, well, hear me out. Because I have been that person who has watched that video on January 15th or whenever I decide to get serious. And I've watched that video and said, okay, write every day. I can do that. I can find a time to write every day. Let me write every day. And then I feel this like collapse of self of like, well, now I guess I'm never gonna write again. Like, that's kind of where I go. Sometimes I'm a very all or nothing. Sometimes I've gotten better about that. But so if you're watching this right now and thinking to yourself, I could do that. I could write every day still. I know you just told me that it's garbage advice, but I could do it. I think I can. That was me. That would be me watching this video. I'd be like, okay, Alyssa, sure, whatever, but I can still do it. I can write every day. Don't let that be something that stops you, and let that be a tool to help you form a consistent writing habit. Because I do think in order to be successful in your goals, it's important to have some sort of habit. It doesn't need to be every day. Maybe I write on Saturday afternoons. Like, that's a habit to just do it once a week. Like, it doesn't need to be every day. But I think forming a writing habit takes away this element of pressure to the writing. Like, writing itself is hard enough. Coming up with plots and characters and people and motivations and resolving plot holes, these are all hard things. And so don't add another element to it that is, when am I gonna write? What time today am I gonna figure out when to write? Like, having it be a regular habitual thing has been so helpful for me to make progress. And then it's just reassuring then, because by no means do I write every day, but I have a time every day where I can. And so it feels like that part, when I think about writing, that's in control, because I know I have time blocked off during my week where I can be successful and I can make movement. I'm answering the question of should you write every day to no and yes, because no, you don't need to write every day. But one thing that might help you to write more this year is to, at the beginning of every week or every day or every month, whatever it be, decide when you're gonna write and have it be often enough where it's a regular part of your routine. It's as regular as brushing your teeth. It's as regular as doing your laundry. It's this thing that is so constant and present in your schedule and in your life that you actually do it. And this takes a long time. Like, especially if you're in college. If you're in college, I feel for you. That was the hardest thing, was coming up with a writing schedule in college. Like, true, I had time during the day, but it was always such a variable schedule. Or if you have kids, like, I get it. I mean, I don't get it, but like, I can understand how it would be more difficult to do that. but it does happen. It always feels like it's never gonna happen. Like I remember last spring, I was trying to write more consistently. It was at the beginning of this channel. And I was really, every week I was like, this is the week that I'm gonna write at this time every day. This is the week that I'm gonna make progress. And I wouldn't. I would like every week would come around and be like, I'm gonna write on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Friday and Saturday. And then I would write on maybe one of those days. But I just couldn't get there. But eventually I did it often enough and I learned what worked and what didn't and what times worked and what times didn't. I eventually got to a place in my draft and in my schedule and in my mindset where writing became this thing that was as necessary and as obvious as going to work, was as necessary to my life as going to the gym, which actually more necessary than going to the gym. It was a problem. That would be my encouragement, would be, I remember feeling so helpless, or not even helpless, that sounds so dramatic, like we're fine. I remember feeling like that though, like, can I even really call myself a writer because I'm never writing? That's how I combated that. And that would be my encouragement to you. So I hope you find that space to write. I hope you take days off and I hope you relish in them. What does your schedule look like? How have you made progress? What has worked? What hasn't? Let me know, because as much as I say I figured it out, how much have I written this week by Wednesday? Maybe a sentence. And that's okay. That's just kind of the process. I'll see you on Sunday. Bye.